you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, General Bolden, for returning and for your service to our nation. In a previous hearing in this committee, I pointed out some of the work that NASA does that affects Oregon's 1st District in several important ways, from education opportunities through the Space Grant Program to whale monitoring activities through NASA's National Ocean Partnership. And I wanted to ask you about the weather and climate monitoring. The marine economy in Oregon is very important to the coastal areas, and they rely on the data provided by NOAA and NASA. And in this NASA budget, I see that the Joint Polar Satellite System 2 climate sensors are being transferred from NOAA to NASA, but there doesn't appear to be an accompanying increase in NASA's Earth Science budget. So I wanted to ask you if you could please elaborate on how NASA is going to carry out this new responsibility. What are the criteria for having NASA assume responsibility, because we want to ensure that there are long-term measurements and observations that are sustained.
Congresswoman, I'll take it for the record to get the exact amount, but I think we did get a modicum of funding that came with the climate sensors, but I'll take that for the record. But I will say, just as we did with the Discover mission and others, we actually came to the House Appropriations Committee and said, look, we would like to take this on because we think this is very important. In the case of Discover, we have instruments that have already been built. They are already installed on the satellite. It makes no sense to us to take them off and put mass simulators on. And Chairman Wolf said, look, I don't want to do that, but give it your best shot. You know, send me a proposal and tell me what you're going to do. And we demonstrated to him how doing it a different way, we could bring it in at a much less cost than it had originally been proposed. And that's what we have become accustomed to doing. Somebody mentioned earlier the fact that many of our missions have come in on budget or under budget and on schedule recently, and it was attributed to an increase in budget. That's not the case. I attribute it to the incredible people I have who are working for NASA, who now have had a change of culture, if you will. They understand that we're not going to get any more money. And so they're looking for innovative ways to do things. We knew we couldn't get enough money for a classic asteroid mission. You know, that would be great if we could put humans in a big rocket and send them to an asteroid between Mars and Jupiter. Our budget is not going to allow that. Never, ever. I doubt it, unless we really do something big and you all decide to be generous. So we had to innovate, and we came up with the concept that is now the hallmark of an asteroid retrieval mission. So that's the way we do things.
Thank you. I also wanted to ask you about, I had a great conversation with members of the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics. They were in town to talk about research funding, which is, of course, very important. We talked about the biological and physical science research that's done at the space station. As you know, there's a lot of research in space that affects medical care here. And I wondered, because of the potential for key medical advancements, is it surprising that what seems like a relatively small amount of the funding for ISS goes to research functions? So will you elaborate on that a bit?
I think we have priced it about right, the amount of money that we put in our human research program. And I think what you're looking at is HRP that's dedicated to astronaut health and safety. What is not seen in that number is the amount of money that goes into human research. For example, the National Institutes of Health has a grant program in the millions of dollars, and the grantees do work on the International Space Station. One stipulation: can't have anything to do with astronauts. It's got to be it has to impact life here on Earth. Now, if it happens to help astronauts, great. But we don't count that kind of money that's being spent. CASIS, which is now the non-governmental organization that is responsible for going out and recruiting, selecting, and then overseeing science experiments flown in the American segment of the International Space Station. Our utilization of space station is up. The number of experiments that astronauts are able to do now that construction is over is up. It's a dynamic laboratory, better than anything anybody's ever seen before.
That's terrific. I see if I can get one more question. And I understand that there's some work being done to develop a prototype exploration suit. for use on board the ISS, and I wondered, is that a repurposing of the current, I guess it's the EMU that's used, or is it going to be replaced, and will there be a competitive process for that?
My understanding is it will replace the EMU. It is a suit that's made to operate in a near gravity, in a less than 1G environment of Mars. Looks like Buzz Lightyear, the one I've seen. It's much less cumbersome, much less hard on the shoulder joints, for example, where we actually have had injuries with astronauts in the current EMU. So it's a new development.
Terrific. And is it a competitive process for that?
It was chosen. It will be chosen through a competitive process. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
My time has expired. Thank you,
Yeah,
Mr.
I'm
Chairman.
sorry.
Thank you.